Aelia Sophia was the Empress consort of Justin II of the Byzantine Empire from 565 to 578. She was specifically interested in economic matters and was involved in financial matters during Justin's reign. During his bouts of insanity, she acted as regent, family. According to the ecclesiastic history of John of Ephesus, Sophia was a niece of Theodora, the Empress consort of Justinian I. John of Ephesus did not specify the identities of her parents. According to the secret history of Procopius, Theodora had only two siblings, her older sister Comato and younger sister Anastasia. Either one could be the mother of Sophia. Procopius identifies Comato as a leading hetera of her age. John Malalas records that Comato married General Sitters in 528. Sitters may thus be the father of Sophia. Whether Anastasia ever married is unknown. During the reign of Justinian I, Theodora arranged for Sophia to marry his nephew Justin. According to the Chronicon of Victor of Tournuna, Justin was the son of Dulcidius and Vigilantia. Her father-in-law is also known as Dulcissima in genealogical resources. Vigilantia and her brother Justinian I were children of Petrus Sabatius and Asenia Vigilantia, who was a sister of Justin I, Empress consort. Justinian I had several nephews but seems to have never appointed an heir. On the night of the 13th of November 565, the 14th of November 565, Justinian I lay on his deathbed. Justin was his co-Uropalates and thus the only viable heir within the great palaces of Constantinople. He managed to gain the support of the Byzantine Senate and was proclaimed emperor within the palace walls before the other members of the Justinian dynasty were notified. The events were recorded by the court poet Flavius Cresconius Coroppus. Coroppus often translated her Greek name Sophia to its Latin equivalent, Sapientia. The meaning of both is wisdom, and the poet uses it as both a divine name and title for her. The accession speech of Justin makes specific mention of Sophia co-ruling with her husband, the presumption being that she already exercised political influence over him. Coroppus records Sophia being in charge of the arrangements for the funeral of Justinian and claims she weaved his shroud with scenes depicting the triumphs of his reign. The main challenge to the new reign was another Justin, cousin to the new emperor. This namesake cousin was the son of Germanus and his first wife Parsara. He had distinguished himself as a military commander and was thus seen as a better choice from a military point of view. According to Evagrius Scholasticus, the emperor and Sophia initially welcomed their kinsman to Constantinople but before long had him exiled to Alexandria. In 568, the other Justin was murdered in his bed. John of Biclero attributed the murder on supporters of Sophia. Evagrius claims that the head of the deceased was sent to the imperial couple who spitefully kicked it around. Evagrius is mostly negative in his account of Justin and Sophia, so should not be taken as an impartial source. In 568, Narses was removed from his position as prefect of Italia. According to Paul the Deacon, Sophia sent a message to the senior general that she had a more suitable position for a eunuch like him, as an overseer of the weaving girls of the Gynaeconitis. Paul attributes to this message the choice of Narses to retire in Naples, instead of returning to Constantinople as Justin had ordered him to do, the interpretation being that Narses was afraid of Sophia. Sophia also influenced the financial policies of Justin. Having inherited an exhausted treasury, they set about repaying the various debts and loans of Justinian to bankers and moneylenders. According to Theophanes, Sophia was in charge of the examination of the financial records and the payment, thus restoring the credibility of the royal treasury. The imperial couple was trying to cut down on expenses and increase the treasury reserves. Evagrius, John of Ephesus, Gregory of Tours and Paul the Deacon all mention it while accusing both Justin and Sophia of greed. She did research their debts and repaid them, which gained her a lot of contemporary praise. Sophia took the name Aelia following the practices of the empresses of the Theodosian dynasty and the House of Leo. The name had not been used by the two preceding empresses of her own dynasty. She was the first empress consort depicted in Byzantine coinage with equally royal insignia to her husband. They were also depicted together in images and statues, while the name of Sophia alone was given to two palaces, a harbour and a public bath built in her honor. In 569, Justin and Sophia together reportedly sent a relic of the True Cross to Radegund. The event was commemorated in Vexilla Regis by Venantius Fortunatus. They also sent relics to Pope John III in an attempt to improve relations. The Cross of Justin II in the Vatican museums, a crux gemmata and reliquary of the True Cross perhaps given at this point, has an inscription recording the donation and apparently the portraits on the ends of the arms on the reverse. However, the religious policy of the couple was controversial. According to John of Ephesus and Michael the Syrian, husband and wife were both initially monophysites who converted to Chalcedonian Christianity to gain favor with their uncle Justinian. During the reign, they attempted a failed reconciliation of Chalcedonian and monophysitic Christianity, which ended in renewed persecution of the latter. Meanwhile, their own beliefs were still in question. Regent Justin reportedly suffered from temporary fits of insanity and was unable to perform his duties as early as the fall of Dara to Khosrau I of the Sassanid Empire in November 573. According to Gregory of Tours, sole power of the empire at this point was assumed by Sophia. Evagrius Scholasticus reports that Sophia managed to conclude a 3-year truce with Khosrau on her own, but as a regent she would require supporters, and she picked Tiberius II Constantine as her colleague in power. He was comes excubitorum. According to the Chronicle of Theophanes the Confessor, Tiberius was officially appointed Caesar by Justin on 7 December 574. He was also adopted by Justin and thus became his appointed heir. John of Ephesus records that Sophia and Tiberius found themselves arguing over the financial policies as effective co-regents, with Sophia pursuing the decreasing of royal expenses while Tiberius argued for the necessity of their increase, particularly for military expenses. The Ecclesiastic History of John of Ephesus and the Chronicle of Theophanes the Confessor both consider Sophia planning to marry Tiberius herself at this point. His current marriage to Ino Anastasia seen as an offense to her. Ino and her daughters Constantina and Charita were not allowed to enter the great palaces of Constantinople. They were instead settled in the palace of Hormisdas, residence of Justinian I prior to his elevation to the throne. According to John of Ephesus, Tiberius joined them every evening and returned to the great palace every morning. Sophia also refused to let the ladies at court visit Ino and her daughters as a token of respect to them. Ino eventually left Constantinople in favor of Daphnudium, her previous residence. According to John of Ephesus, Tiberius left Constantinople to visit Ino when she fell sick. Her daughters are assumed to have joined her in her departure from the capital. In September 578, Justin II appointed Tiberius as his co-emperor. On 5 October 578, Justin was dead and Tiberius became the sole emperor. According to John of Ephesus, Sophia sent Patriarch Eutychius of Constantinople to Tiberius to convince him to divorce Ino, and offering both herself and her adult daughter Arabia as prospective brides for the new emperor. Tiberius refused. Sophia was no longer the Empress consort, though still an Augusta. Widowed Augusta, Sophia retained her rank as Augusta and continued to hold a section of the palace for herself. Meanwhile, her rival Anastasia was also proclaimed an Augusta. The situation was not to her liking, and John of Ephesus records further arguments over financial policy. Gregory of Tours records that Sophia took part in a conspiracy to depose Tiberius and replace him with another Justinian, younger brother of the Justin murdered in Alexandria. Tiberius reacted by taking hold of much of her property, dismissing her loyal servants and appointing replacements loyal to him. However, her rank and presence in the palace remained. Theophanes records that in 579, Sophia retired to the Sophia, a palace built in her honor. He describes her as holding her own minor court and honored as mother of Tiberius. On 14 August 582, Tiberius died. He was succeeded by Maurus, a general betrothed to Constantina. Maurus had been a choice of Sophia. Gregory of Tours reporting that she had planned to marry him and regain the throne. The marriage of Constantina and Maurus took place in autumn 582. The ceremony was performed by Patriarch John IV of Constantinople and is described in detail by Theophylactus Amokata. Constantina was proclaimed an Augusta, while both Sophia and Anastasia also kept the same title. John of Ephesus mentions all three Augustas residing in the Great Palace, which would mean either that her retirement was temporary or that Theophanes misreported her status. Anastasia was the first of the three ladies to die. Theophanes places her death in 593. Constantina seems to have enjoyed better relations with Sophia than her mother did. Theophanes records them to have jointly offered a precious crown as an Easter present to Maurus in 601. He accepted the gift but then ordered it hang over the altar of Hagia Sophia as his own tribute to the church, which according to Theophanes was taken an insult by both Augustas and caused a rift in the marriage. The Easter of 601 was also the last time Sophia was mentioned in our sources. Whether she survived to see the deposition of Maurus in 602 is unclear. Children. Sophia and Justin had at least 2 children. Justus, a son, died before 565, buried in the church of Michael the Archangel. Arabia, a daughter, married prior to the succession of her father to the Couropalates Badurius. Her husband died c. 576 while defending Byzantine Italy from the Lombards. They had a daughter, Firmina, whose fate is unknown.